deities! Red Candlelight back with you to review the latest pro wrestling news and results on a Mother's Day. It's Wrestling Rants! Baby! Let's get into it, folks! A couple days late and $1 short on this one. Wrestling Rants is back with Versus Impact versus Ring of Honor. Once again, happy Mother's Day. Hope everybody's enjoying the day with their moms. I'm about to do the same here right after this rant, so thought I'd get it in quick. Looking back at Thursday's Impact versus Ring of Honor episodes. And also to give a heads up, later on tonight we're going to be doing a wrestling roundup of all the industry news and a whole lot more with laying the rant down. A big jam-packed episode of that later on tonight. And tomorrow we got a mega rant on a mega rant Monday. That is taking a look back at the first 4 nights of the Best of Super Juniors from New Japan Pro Wrestling. A lot to talk about with those shows. I just got done with night 1 from, it would have been Friday, and wow, what a show that was. So we're going to talk about that on Monday. So looking ahead to a few things on that. Tuesday, top 10 takes. We are going to be looking back at the top 10 matches in Double or Nothing history. So be looking for that. Let's get into the meat potatoes of this one. Impact versus Ring of Honor from last Thursday. This would have been the 11th of May. Just a quick rundown of both shows. I thought Impact had a pretty good balance of everything. There was, just as a heads up, a few additions from the second night in Chicago that was added to this show. So it was a mix of the Friday and the Saturday taping from Chicago mixed into one episode. Ring of Honor had a full jam-packed 2-hour episode back this week. So now we're back to Ring of Honor doing about 2 hours each week. So with that said, we're going to be doing 8 quarter-hour segments here in the head-to-head battle. Just as a heads up, as I grab my trusty pen to mark down which one on each quarter hour I'm going to pick. So with that said, Ring of Honor was back in Orlando at Universal Studios for these tapings. They just taped these last weekend. If you want a little bit of a heads up on some spoilers on that, I did some in the laying the rant down last Sunday's episode, which actually, I believe it was on Monday I actually dropped that one. So we had the results of both Saturday and Sunday tapings for Ring of Honor. I ran down just kind of the main parts of the spoilers, but there was a lot more that I didn't talk about, which actually did air a lot on this episode. Another thing to note with Ring of Honor, quick before we get to the head-to-head battle, this episode I noticed there was a new female ref for Ring of Honor. So something interesting to note there. I don't know her name, don't know the situation, how long she's been around the business or anything, but she was a ref on these on this taping, on this episode of Ring of Honor. So interesting little facet there. That'd be the second female referee in AEW, basically. Maybe at some point that'll happen. But for now, she's set for the Ring of Honor brand, whoever she is. Okay, let's get into head-to-head Impact versus Ring of Honor. First quarter hour in Impact Wrestling was a tremendous match, I thought, live, that came across very well on the second viewing here, and that was Masha Slamovich over Killer Kelly. I loved the finish, I call it the Austin and Brett finish from Survivor Series 96. I think Brett did it as well with Roddy Piper, WrestleMania 8, if I recall. Those were the two standout ones that this finish were basically Killer Kelly had Masha in basically a submission, a choke of sorts. Masha ran the turnbuckles, bounced back, and laid down flat on her head, kind of, with the 1, 2, 3. Excellent match, I thought. Went against a pretty solid match on Ring of Honor as well, and that was Mark Briscoe against Shane Taylor. Briscoe did go over in this match, and later on in the show, they start setting up something more for Shane Taylor. We'll talk about that in a moment. First quarter hour, I'm going to go Impact on this one. I thought that Slamovich Killer Kelly match was awesome stuff to open Impact for sure. Go back to Impact's second quarter hour. We had a Jay Vidal and Trinity promo in the back, which is something that they're going to be doing probably next week on Impact TV. I won't give away completely the goose, but it has something to do with Giselle Shaw and the open challenge that's been set for Under Siege for Trinity Fatu. Nick Aldis also had his debut match on Impact on this quarter hour against Shelton Jean, who's now a protege of Kenny King. They're both a tag team, and it's kind of a mentor-student kind of dynamic they got going on there. Match was all right. It's not much to it, but it was what it was. Over on Ring of Honor, we had a pretty solid tag match with Claudio and Wheeler Yuta over Tracy Williams and Rhett Titus, the former Ring of Honor champs from a while back. And Claudio and Yuta went over in this one. I think they're setting something up with Claudio and Yuta against Lucha Brothers, which may or may not even happen on Double or Nothing. I wouldn't be shocked if that happens in that direction, perhaps. I guess time will tell. I went with Ring of Honor on this quarter hour with that Claudio Yuta tag. Third quarter hour, a lot of stuff on both shows for the third quarter hour. We had a Dirty Dango segment in the back with Johnny Swinger that set up a match with those two later on Impact. We had the part 3 of Kazarian look back in his career where he talked about almost winning the World Heavyweight Championship from Josh Alexander. And we also had the Good Hands in a match with DK. I think I talked about this in the Impact spoilers a little bit, but Black Taurus was so over in this match. And then what did they do? They had Black Taurus do the job to the Good Hands with assistance from Brian Myers, who has become the Good Hands new manager. I don't think I mentioned that in the Impact spoilers. I kind of forgot about it. But yeah, in fact, that is a thing now. Brian Myers and the Good Hands as a kind of a faction unit. Over on Ring of Honor, we had two relatively quick matches in this quarter hour. One was Samoa Joe over Blake Christian for that World Television Championship. I thought it was short but really good. We also had a segment in the back with Varsity Athletes and the Trustbusters setting up an 8-man tag later. It was a promo. And then the Righteous came in there and did a match with the Infantry that went pretty quick. There was once again a tease of Stu Grayson, who was standing at the entrance stage, kind of watching things, and the Righteous interacted with him after the match as well. They're obviously trying to convert him or lead him to the dark side of the Righteous, so to speak, from the Dark Order, ironically enough. This one, I'm going to go Ring of Honor for this quarter hour. That Joe and Blake Christian match was pretty good. Fourth quarter hour, first hour of Impact versus Ring of Honor. We got a No Surrender 2009 flashback. The first Knockouts Tag Team Championship match where the Beautiful People lost to Taylor Wilde and Sarita. That brought things in, I guess, into context because the main event tonight was a Knockouts Tag title match as well. You got Steve Macklin's promo with Singh and Shera in the back, kind of wanting them to do some dirty business for him. And what did they do? They took out Heath Slater in the back in a segment as well. Right before the match, coming up here was Steve Macklin and Rhino. Over on Ring of Honor, we had Robin Renegade in a surprise win against Burt Vixen. I'm kind of into the Renegades tag team. I kind of like it. Maybe they should get a little pushier in Ring of Honor stuff. Also, Gates of Agony were in there with Prince Nana on a promo. They suggested that they attacked one of the boys of Dalton Castles. Dalton Castle was all irate over that. And then we got a really unique match. The Battle of the Macs on Ring of Honor. Willie Mack over Ninja Mack. Solid match. I really liked this match. In fact, Ring of Honor, I have to say, this 2 hours was a very solid in-ring of Ring of Honor across the board. Maybe one of the best 2 hours that they've done so far on the weekly, quite frankly, with just a litany of solid matches. This was no exception. I liked it. The Willie Mack over Ninja Mack. I'm going to give Ring of Honor the nod on this one again for the quarter hour. Thing to note, they do a tag team then with Willie Mack and Ninja Mack later on these tapings, which will probably be in a few weeks on Ring of Honor TV. All right, let's go into second hour, quarter hour 5 of these shows. Steve Macklin over Rhino. I saw this live, and second time around, it still was very slow and pedestrian. They were working an angle with Rhino's injury, which may or may not be some sort of legitimacy to it, because he was going beyond what I would call a normal sell in this match, but perhaps he just really isn't injured at all, and they fucking fooled me. I don't know. Whatever the case, very lackluster match. Macklin went over Rhino. Afterwards, Macklin laid out Rhino with chair shots, Pillmanized his leg with a shovel and a chair. Stretcher job for Rhino, so he's going to be out for quite a while. I don't know. I haven't really read anything online if he's like legitimately injured or not. I wish I could find out if they worked me or not in this match, because it sure seemed like Rhino was working the injury in the match, but maybe he really legitimately was injured going into the match. That was my impression. Over on Ring of Honor, not much to say in this one. Well, hold on, I take that back. There was an embassy squash, which was nothing. But then we also had Kyle Fletcher of United Empire and Avasi Open over Tony Deppen, and this match was solid. I really, once again, enjoyed this match, similar to like a Willie Mack and Ninja Mack. Not a ton of time, but all action for sure. Fletcher went over Deppen in this one. I'm going to give the nod because of the angle with Macklin and Rhino, which I thought was strong, even though the match was kind of weak compared to maybe Fletcher and Deppen. I am going to give Impact a nod on this quarter hour here. So going into quarter hour 6, we had Scott D'Amore and Steve Macklin in a promo by an ambulance where Rhino was being taken out. D'Amore was pissed at Macklin. He made the match with PCO at Under Siege and no disqualification match. Then PCO emerges from the ambulance to attack Steve Macklin. This was all some sort of pre-tape in the back behind kind of the Cesaro Stadium area. They start fighting a little bit in front of the arena even, and Macklin bails. We also got Dirty Dango over Swinger in this segment. A pretty solid quarter hour for Impact, I have to say. I enjoyed the Dango and Swinger stuff as well. One piece of comedy that actually does work in wrestling is Swinger, in my opinion. Over on Ring of Honor, we had AR Fox over Anthony Henry. This was the main event on night 2 of the Ring of Honor tapings. They were kind of putting things together from both nights, similar to how Impact does it as well in these tapings. So they were not in chronological order in the way that they were taped at Universal Studios. After the match, Jamie Drake and Shane Taylor emerged. So they're a new faction that they're putting together. The Workhorsemen, Shane Taylor. That brought out FTR of all people to make the save for AR Fox, and Eddie Kingston, who came out and helped a little bit as well. Now, after this match, there was a promo in the arena where Eddie Kingston talked that he was going to be taking some time off. He had hernia. He needed hernia surgery. They did not air this. They just cut it off kind of after Kingston appeared and was about to cut the promo. They cut it off on the presentation. So, whatever the case, it was a fun little segment and a fun match. I probably will go, actually, Ring of Honor on this one because the AR Fox and Anthony Henry match was a solid match. They were going all out, treating it as a main event kind of feeling for sure in that match. Quarter over 7, we got the Design did a promo. Rich Swann and Sami Callihan showed up to lay out everybody or take them out with the patented yellow hoodies, so they were kind of disguised for a second there. Decent little angle. Moose and Myers in the Good Hands had a promo where Moose is a little jealous that Myers attaching himself to the Good Hands now. There wasn't a whole lot in this segment, quarter hour wise. Over on Ring of Honor, we had the Dark Order over Trustbusters and the Varsity Athletes. Just because there really wasn't much on Impact, I got to give Ring of Honor the nod on this one for that 8-man tag, which was okay. It was alright. Then we go to the last quarter hours of both shows. Knockouts tag titles, the Coven over Dinano Purrazzo and Jordan Grace. A solid match. Like I said again, I keep repeating myself. Really delivered live, and a second time around, it also really delivered. So Interesting, on this episode of Impact, we had frontline opener women and a closing match with the women, which both matches, quite frankly, delivered. The Coven did win this one when there was some issues with Perazo and Grace, and they took advantage of that and got the win. Trinity made the save at the end to once again tease that three-way with Grace, Perazo, and Trinity, which I think we'll probably see at Slammiversary. More than likely, I guess time will tell. Over on Ring of Honor, another solid women's match. It was a big theme of these shows on Thursday night was the women dominating most of the strong matches, and this was an excellent match. Ring of Honor Women's Champion Athena over Sky Blue. These two were really going, and really a nice pace. Wow, I was impressed by this match. This was the best Sky Blue matchup for sure I've ever seen. There was a spot at ringside where they had the ring steps set and everything, and Sky Blue actually took a power bomb on top of the ring steps. That was a pretty big statement of a spot there, that's for sure. And lots of fire by Sky Blue here, but she could not get the win. Athena finally did get the victory in this one. Main event wise on both shows, really quality stuff from the women. I have to go with Ring of Honor on this one though, with Sky Blue and Athena. Just a really strong match to conclude this episode of Ring of Honor. Overall, let's look at the tally. We got quite a runaway for this week from Ring of Honor. Like I said, it was one of the better in-ring shows in recent memory for them. A solid start to finish, 2 hours of really good in-ring action. 6 quarter-hour segments for Ring of Honor. Impact got 2 this week. They got that opener with Killer Kelly and Slamovich. And I did give Steve Macklin and Rhino's segment the nod as well. But wow, a dominant win this week for Ring of Honor for sure. See what next week holds for these two. We'll be back right here Friday next week with versus Ring of Honor versus Impact. All right, come on back later tonight. We got a Laying the Rat Down, looking right back at Wrestling Roundup, all the weekend news, and so much more. Come on back later tonight. See you back for some more wrestling.